Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the 21st day of the New Earth Summit, now in its third year, India's first integrated summit on solutions to our problems in health, food, farming, and environment. I'm Darrell D'Souza, convener of the New Earth Summit, your host this evening, and I extend a warm welcome to our esteemed panelists and also to our audience on behalf of our 10 Earthkeeper groups as well, who are in India and overseas. And we express our gratitude to you for taking your time from your busy schedules to be with us this evening and to share your insights and experience so that all watching this live webinar and its recording later may benefit from the holistic science and wisdom being presented on this platform that will help us all co-create a beautiful world. Our topic for today is Natural Homes and Architecture Committee, and we'll be talking about also the need for natural homes. So I will start with introducing our panelists to the audience. Architect Hyacinth Pinto graduated from Goa College of Architecture in 1987 and has been designing sustainable homes in Goa for the last 30 years. She also specializes in the adaptive reuse of old Goan homes, maintaining their character while adapting them for a contemporary lifestyle. He builds homes with locally available materials such as laterite, rubble, and raw lateritic soil dug out from the site of construction or from nearby sources. Her first earthen home was built in Diwar Island in the early 90s. Her journey in earth construction began with a 10-day workshop in soil block construction at Development Alternatives in New Delhi in 1990. Hyacinth has built mud cottages in Madhya Pradesh and conducted workshops in wattle and daub construction in Thailand and Nagaland. She is also a consultant for an Adobe eco resort in New Mexico and was invited to make a presentation of her work at the Global Earth Conference at Santa Fe in New Mexico in 2015. Our second panelist, architect Tallulah De Silva, is an architect with a deep sensitivity for the environment and specializes in cost-effective and sustainable buildings. She is currently engaged in projects built using mud and waste materials and is an active educator and strong promoter of outdoor learning. She is involved in various initiatives such as the Kids for Tigers project, a national level program for schools by Sanctuary Nature Foundation and the Global Shapers community for mentoring youth towards social change under the aegis of the World Economic Forum. Hyacinth has also pioneered several urban intervention initiatives, such as the No More Zone, which is non motorized zone, to promote pedestrianization and has developed ecological projects such as the dry composting toilet called EcoLoo. Tallulah has won several awards for her work and is an international speaker. Our third panelist, architect Rita Joshi, graduated from CEPT Ahmedabad in 1985. Her exposure to international architecture in Malaysia held her in good stead while working at Stein, Joshi, and Bhaila in Delhi. Her passion to teach led her to become a visiting faculty at the Goa College of Architecture. With over 30 years' experience, designing of statement homes is her forte. And though designing for the masses is her dream, she plans to fulfill this dream by setting up an institute named SOMA, School of Meaningful Architecture. She worked on the India Habitat Center in Delhi in 1987 under the guidance of architect Joseph Allenstein and architect Meena Mani. In Goa, architect Rita has designed over 5,000 projects, namely hotels and factory projects and cluster housing. Go Green is always incorporated in her specification. A burning desire to encourage youth designers is tireless. Her office cum residence at Chogam House is a standing example of a commitment to Mother Nature. So, for the first hour of this webinar, I have a few questions for our panelists, which will be followed by question and answers with the audience at 7 p.m. Who can type their questions in the Q&A box even before that time. If you would like to receive the recording of this webinar, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, The New Earth Summit. So now for my questions to the panelists. Tallulah, what in your view is one most negative aspect of modern housing as it's done in our metro cities?
I think realization during the pandemic that everybody had that, we suddenly found ourselves in cages. So basically everybody felt that living in a modern house meant that you are put in a concrete box. And today everybody acknowledges that fact, and therefore who's going wrong? Because people are demanding for housing, they want to have a home. And it is the designers and the developers and the builders who are providing this home. But something is wrong there, okay? So one of the biggest problems in modern housing is that it doesn't recognize the natural needs of a human being, the natural need or the innate need of a person to be connected to a living environment. We are living in homes where we don't see the sun rise. We are living in homes that have very small windows. We are living in homes that are not naturally comfortable. So, you have to air condition them, you have to artificially make them comfortable. And in that environment, you are keeping out the natural environment. Now, this is not normal, okay? So, it means that today as designers and also consumers, we are slowly accepting to live in homes where we are not sensitive to a natural environment. And therefore, even people working in offices don't know what time of day it is outside. Because, there are blinds, there are windows, there are glass partitions, which keep them in a comfortable environment, but cut off from the natural environment. So I think there is lots that is not right. There is lots that is wrong. And there is lots to do to change that.
Yes, thank you, Tallulah. So, taking your first point, it's about an experience that a person has. And of course, from what you're saying, we can understand that, it's a kind of environment in your home which is devoid of the natural elements. So you are going to feel more, drained. You are going to get sick, and this is what I have also been telling people about. Coming from a health perspective, that we are cut off from sunlight, and even the water that we get in our homes is treated with chlorine, and it has got no life in it. That means no healthy bacteria, as you would, all other species on the planet are getting their daily feed of groundwater or their natural sources of water. So, yes, I completely resonate with that. And so then, architect Rita, what other negative aspect of modern housing would you like to mention?
I'd like to thank you, Daryl, for getting
Yes.
us three ladies together to come out with our viewpoints on this very
Most welcome.
sensitive project for all of us. We are sensitive. Everyone is different. And to handle a design which is sensitive to nature, that is the prime importance today. And I must say that all the villages in Kalangut are like glorified cities or townships. We don't stay in a village, but still the infrastructure, the concrete jungle that is being erected is totally insensitive to the environment. And why I boast about my house, I don't have any concrete there. I have 3 levels, but it's a mixture of stone slabs, which we've used in a grid, and we've used a screed on top of it. Even my office, the deck, everything. My bedroom is a suspended structure from the ceiling, and using sensitive matti wood, which is used over here. So what is important is when we are talking about development in townships, you can handle it with sensitivity and use materials which are within the radius and have services which are practical to today's times. And as the other panelists mentioned, is that this COVID was an educational trip for everyone. And I think one shouldn't forget it, because men are very, or mankind is very, forgets things very easily. I think this is a lesson which we have to ensure that our future generations don't have a repetition of what has happened. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Rita. Hyacinth, any particular points that you want to mention about, these modern concrete jungles? As not only, of course, we've spoken it's bad for health, but anything relating to the environment, or what's happening in these metro cities. What do you see as a negative aspect of how these multi-story buildings are constructed? Is there some impact on the environment as well?
Yeah, of course. See, what happens with high rises, first of all, if you go above 5 floors, especially 5th floor onwards, you're literally living in the sky. You're not living on the earth. There's a big disconnect from ground and up. In fact, there's an architect who said, mentioned about high rises above 5th floor. You should be connecting aerospace authorities rather than the land authorities, literally, because you're not in contact. The people down cannot see you up there, and you cannot see what's happening down ground reality. That's one thing. But jokes aside, the high rises, the consumption of the earth's resources is huge. It definitely reduces the footprint and increases the density of housing. But the earth is huge. It's how you use the resources of the earth and how you spread your dwellings and how you plan your dwellings that matters. So I'm sure the density can be accounted for without concentration, such a lot of concentration. In fact, now decentralization is what is important. So you go out, you create an environment, accommodate people within that, within the density that place can have, that place can accommodate, without really going high rise. Because if you look at the earth from the plane, you'll find that it's a small little pinpoint of concentration of, say, New York or Bombay or Calcutta, and the rest of it is all empty space. There's a lot of empty space. So we just need to find out which is the right kind of empty space that we can build on, rather than just filling up the fields and other resources around it. That's number one. Number two is, inside the indoor air environment in these high rises, they tend to depend a lot, as Tallulah said, on artificial means of ventilation and other infrastructure that you need. And that is a drain on the earth's resources, because it's all non-renewable energy resources that they are using, and non-renewable material also. Then the synthetics that you use, they all they all give out toxic fluorocarbons and VOCs and all, which are cancerous and create health hazards, because the ventilation is not, like ventilation had been reduced in in 1973 or something to like 5 air changes, 5 CFT per minute, rather than the 15 that was the actual standards, until ASHRAE again, made it 15 CFT per minute. But that is 15 CFT per minute with mechanical ventilation means, with HVACs and stuff like that. So again, and those are star rated HVACs. The star rating also comes with a price. All that is, so there is a lot of negative impact in this style of construction, the method of development, of the modern construction.
Yes, very right. And for the before I go into the next step of what is the solution, I just want to play a few slides for our audience as well, so that they get a little more insight of what you are saying and certain aspects that we have so far understood in the New Earth Summit as our presentations and webinars have been coming forward. So I will just share a few slides. So I'm starting this slide with, I've shown it before on the webinars. It's the indigenous people who were there across the earth before moderns, the industrial revolution started, before modern homes started. And so we can see in their respective places, they are all using materials very natural to their surroundings. And what has turned out is that these people have been here for probably 6,000, 8,000, 10,000 years. So, they did not cause any damage to the earth because as the civilizations came up with natural materials, and if they dwindled down, all these natural materials would go back into the earth, into the 5 elements. So, literally, they've carried this earth and taken care of it, and I call them the earth keepers for about 10,000 years. And since this time that we have started doing modern construction, now it has been about 200 years, and we are to the point where we are destroying the entire earth. And this is kind of, our modern cities. This is a picture of Chicago, and you cannot see any bare land over here. And you can see what appears to be, I think, the sea. But I'm just going to replace it with something else, that's sea. And the first statement I want to make is that all of this that has come vertically up has come at the cost of holes in the ground. So all of the mining, all of the glass that has been excavated, all of the plastic that has gone into these structures, they have come at the cost of making holes all over the earth. And so many of these materials in the city itself would not have come from this, the state itself, would have come from all across the world. So the first problem was making such cities, and when you make such cities, you got to supply them water, right? Because human beings need water on a daily basis. So that's when this whole concept came of banking rivers and making these huge dams. So what's in the background here can be thought of a huge dam, right? Which has choked up the water, which used to flow down to the country. And always on the river banks, there have been civilizations and villages. So we had a decentralized, system of where people lived. So there wasn't such high, what I call population density, right? So the problem started at this stage when capitalists came in and decided that this is the place where we want people to live, and we make it a smart city. Even that talk is going on now, smart cities and multi-layered, multiple levels and all of that. So the second problem that happened is when they started concentrating people in one place, then the food started, because there's no food to grow in that place. So the distance between your food and you started going up, and today it takes about a truck 1 day's drive to get the local, the vegetables and fruits and all that to your mandi, or to the place where your vegetable market is. And in that process, what we call the food supply chain became very long. Earlier, the villagers, they used to have, the growing the food just around their place, and the same day it was harvested, it would come to the home. And now you have this very long food supply chain that has got so many stops in between. And because of that, your food has to be packaged. It has got to have preservatives to take care of the time of transit and travel. And so we all ended up with this from fresh natural foods that I still get from my garden today every morning, which we have at lunch or dinner, right? We have gone to all of this mall culture where all of these processed foods have got synthetic preservatives, stabilizers, and all these chemicals that are making us very sick. And all the packaging materials also have come from all of these holes in the earth, whether it's paper or cardboard or metals and mining for that, and also all the plastic that is coming from petroleum products by excavation of crude oil and excavating our sand of our seashores and from our riverbeds. So all these packaging materials are taking all of this, and the factories that run and make all these food that flows throughout this long food supply chain, they're putting pollution in the air and effluents in the ground, and also the heat that runs all of these industries, increasing the contributing to global warming. And lastly, this on the left hand side is the transportation, all the vehicles that do this transportation of all our food. um, they're not only using up all the petrol, right? They're also using up all the metals from the earth. So this entire system has been, sucking out from the earth where we don't see a future of more than, 25 years. And on the right side is this thing when you separate, so many people are working at food places. So when you separate staying area from work area and from food area, then you have a lot of transport which also uses up the resources on this planet. So just sharing one very interesting calculation that I did of this eco village that we are designing in Goa, which is over 1,000 acres, but this is a bigger model, and it was based on some very fundamental principles which I consider very core to not uh, removing any more non-renewable resources from the planet, because the earlier model is completely built on that, every day taking out and things from the planet that are non-renewable, and so we have no future there. So the idea was this: uh, a person, in 1 hour they can walk. Actually, they can walk about 6.5 or 7 kilometers. So let's make it an easy walk, and a person can do 5 kilometers in 1 hour. So I just took this 5 kilometers length and 5 kilometers breadth, and if you multiply both, you get 25 square kilometers, in which you are making a place for people to live, and you're also trying to make it a self-sufficient community where food is grown, where education happens, where art and culture is there, where you get your jobs, and all of that. So all the materials that even your clothes can be made over there. So uh, so basically, meaning that from the place you stay to your workplace or to your marketplace, or to your place of worship or recreation, you're not going to be walking more than 15-20 minutes one way. And this is anyway what we advise all our people now to remain fit, right? Walk half an hour in the morning, walk half an hour in the evening. And so what this turns out to be is 25 square kilometers or 6,177 acres. And just making a nice model house of a 4-bedroom villa where you can see the breakup, two parents, two children, and 2 bedrooms for 2 sets of grandparents, or if you don't have the second set, maybe it's a guest room. All of this on a built up area of 200 square meters within a 500 square meters plot. Okay, so this is a very comfortable, spacious house along with space around you for growing a vegetable patch or having your dogs and cats or whatever you want. Now, this calculation is about that 500 square meters. If you divide it by those 8 people, just 63 square meters is apportioned to each person. And then to that, I added another 437 square meters, which is apportioning that part of what you will consume from the agricultural land, from the public spaces, your water body and the forest. Of course, you're not going to live in the forest, but the forest area should be somewhere close, which is your catchment area, which kind of supplies water to your brooks and streams or your lake and pond, and also common spaces. So it's worked out to about 500 square meters per person. And looking at this area of 25 square kilometers, it can house 50,000 people. Okay, so yeah, and even if you have a bigger lake, that's catering to a lot more number of people, then you can have 4, 5, such places around that lake. So basically, having going up to 1 lakh 50 or 2 lakh, people. And so, bearing in mind, this is only a ground floor structure. And what is the advantage of ground floor structures? That you can use basic building materials, stone, mud, and wood. Because once you start going over first and second floor, then you start needing to use harder materials like concrete and the iron bars, and all the need for all of that comes in. So what I have designed this to be no further extraction of any non-renewable resource on this planet. So we are trying to put a full stop to that. And this model, I'm saying, can go for the next 2,500 years instead of 25 years. So basically in this community, you can just go walking. That means you don't need any cars. Okay, and perhaps for the youngsters or for the senior citizens, there can be some cycles if you want to go faster, or even a dear tricycle for the senior citizens. They can sit in it, and somebody can drive them around. In 15 minutes they will get to wherever they want. So this is a very low kind of carbon footprint model. And lastly, I'm just making a comparative. What I remember in 1980, when I lived in this house, I used to come here for summer vacation. We only had a cycle in the house, and there was no cars and all around the place in Anavada. And once in 20 days, we could see a rickshaw coming in because somebody from out of Goa came in. So I'm just talking about we used to live like this, and it was a very low carbon footprint, a very natural, kind of. And within that space, we had access to our education, to our religious place, to the marketplace, for our social events. Everything, life was complete. So it seems like we can be more innovative now. We don't need to live in simple huts and all of that, provided we take care that these things are in close proximity. You see, this calculation, it can be more, instead of 5 by 5, you can do 6 by 6 or 5 by 6, whatever it is. But at least the idea now, what we've come to in the New Earth Summit, is this making a self-sufficient space where carbon footprint is very low and life is complete. So that is just the idea that I wanted to share. And so I will bring up the questions, now towards solutions for these natural homes in this kind of a model. Now, of course, whether it's any village, also a place in Goa, yes, in the existing spaces also we can have natural homes, but the idea comes in that space them, space out the houses, do not crowd them so close. There has to be some sense of something called population density. You see, I think it's just there in paperwork, but it's not put into implementation, where there's over congestion. Especially on our coastal belts, it's become, it's the air is so polluted, and the people, the density is very high. So traffic is also more. So thinking of this, that of course, in a greenfield project, you can do whatever you want and make these designs. But where places are already populated, so now we can get into some, discussion about how can we take this forward with natural homes. Okay, Tallulah, so if I would ask you, if we are asking people to, go more for natural homes for their own health first, and also for the health of Mother Earth. And if it's designed well, we need to show them some examples. People like to see good examples. That's why I'm trying to do the eco village in Goa. And I know that even in 1,000 acres, we can make this. It doesn't need to be 6,100. If somebody gives us, there was a person who had 2,000 acres, but only 25 acres of it was in Goa. The rest of it was in Maharashtra. So till now we found 1,000 acres. Yeah. So Tallulah, what are the ideal things, not only in Goa but in other states in India? What are the basic principles, the most important things of a natural home?
Very good question. I think that the first challenge that you see when people say that they would like a natural home is you need to bring yourself down to a point where you can accept a living home. Because see, a natural home is a living home, right? And today our modern lives have, in a way, killed that natural environment. So, from the perspective of, we don't like to see, green grass immediately outside the house where the floor ends. You don't want to see any creepy crawlies, spiders, lizards, frogs, snakes, and so many other things. Now, I'm saying this because a living home or a natural home will have all these aspects because there's natural predation. You'll have less mosquitoes if you have lizards, snakes, frogs around the house. You'll have, so many other things. There are so many benefits to having all these, which we now look at pests. People are not intolerant to even ants and termites. But if we understand the ecological linkages of a living and natural home, I think that is the first step. So I think the community that we are looking at, the eco village that we are looking at, will obviously have people who are converts, right? They're already sensitized to living in a more natural environment. So that is the first one. One is a, mental change, an acceptance where we are okay with living in a natural home, which will have all these aspects. And of course, our dependence. The COVID taught us today that if there was a power cut like you had today, it was okay to live with, a little bit of discomfort. Today, we have become so intolerant to not living without having our air conditioners on, is because we have, made our spaces overtly comfortable. It is not required. Our bodies can adjust to a slight difference in temperature. And because we have become intolerant, we have also become intolerant to accepting these. So COVID has taught us a lot of things. And I think, so the first step is to be, mentally accepting a natural home. And of course, then everything falls into place where you set up a model like the eco village, where people have an insight or a preview of what living in an eco village will be like, right from growing your food to drawing your water to harvesting your water, and many of these. So I think the challenges are not big, but the first step is a mental makeup where we begin to accept that, living in a natural home will have all of these together. And an eco village is not, I would say, a new concept. It's an old concept. But why are we thinking about it? I think your foray or your dive into this is simply to give people the options, because today we have our living environments in urban cities are not giving us options. Even if architects are sustainable and sensitive, we are not having options of what an eco village can provide. So I think that preview, that insight into when people see that this is the way to live, this is the way to be, this is how the community will thrive. The community will bring about that first spark towards a long-term, equalizing of what is going wrong, lowering carbon emissions, lowering the carbon footprint is something that is critical today.
Yes, thank you, Tallulah. I will also just mention I had this experience too, where though my house is not an eco village, I was started because I have a vegetable garden. I allowed some things to start creeping on my walls. Okay, so I have a beautiful 1-2 seasons back picture of the side of my wall that there was passion fruit growing and tanely growing across it, and yeah, these two. So it was all across the wall, and then I had actually creepy collies going up to my roof and coming in from there. So I was thinking that yeah, there must be some scientific measure about it. Maybe it should be 1 meter away or 2 meters away. I should not grow things which window height, which will allow people to be okay, and I mean these things to crawl into. So architect Rita, what would you have like to say about this? Because at your place, I have seen there are things creeping over the wall. I think external wall, but not over your home, right?
Daryl, you're only talking about small creepy crawlies. I have a huge monitor lizard with its babies living on my property. And we have no problem with it. My staff, I shifted my office to my residence nearly 1.5 years ago, just before COVID. So we feel that we are one with nature, and I think one shouldn't get petrified. If you don't trouble them, they don't trouble us. Honestly speaking, even snakes go by. We have no problems. And as Tallulah said, you have all these natural things. The main rodents and all don't trouble us. I think what has happened is we have become pampered. All these years, we have got so acclimatized to getting everything that you see that if you go out, take a walk amongst green plants, you're getting natural oxygen which is being exhalated by the plants. You have got this something so beautiful about having greenery all around you. And I don't think there's anything detrimental for a natural project. I think it's just your mindset. Accept it and move on. Then we are on a winning spree. Honestly, Daryl,
Yeah.
go for it. We're
So
all with you.
what about Rita? What about some basic principles when designing a natural home? Like suppose because we have so many power cuts here in Goa, right? So how about designing the roof for more light to come in? I remember actually we used to have those glass tiles, and but once we got used to electricity, we replaced those glass tiles with opaque tiles because we have lights in the house. So any important principles of a natural home, you see, that are to our advantage. That means if there's no power, then this can it will work still. And if there is no water supply for 3 days, then it will still work because you have designed this. Can you tell us a few of these things that are good tips for people who want to consider having a natural home?
Okay, there are two things which you mentioned is light and water.
And the third, let me put it in electricity. There's yeah, of course, light. It's the same thing.
Okay, in
Electricity.
olden,
Let's say electricity to run your devices as well.
okay, there are two things. In the olden times, people used to get up with dawn, have their food, have their practices, and by sunset, they used to be in bed. Why are we reinventing the wheel? This was a system which was being followed. Why can't we continue it? And with that thought, I have a north light in my house, and everybody used to wonder, what is this huge glass thing that you've got in front? It's a north light. I have light over here until as late as 7:30.
Right.
So we use candles. It's very romantic. And we can create an ambience which is perfect. Now you're talking about, that was for light. Now you're talking about electrical. There are ways of solar panels. Your whole roof can be made of solar panels. And one can harvest solar energy and you can run your whole house with it. So that takes care of electricity. And the third part was water. It always depends where your source of water is. So if you have a system where you have a well on the property or you get government supply, either way, you have a system which pumps the water up, and by gravitation, it comes down. So you have to just pump it maybe an hour a day or less than that. It depends on the utility of your project, and you can use the water that is being supplied. And so you can run your pump with solar power, and so you're on again on a successful status. So you don't have to worry. Actually, the more we have issues, the more innovative a man gets.
Right, right.
I think if you start worrying about issues, which if we don't have power, if we don't have things, there's a way out for everything. And where there's a will, there's a way. Thank you.
Yes, yes, definitely. Thank you. Hyacinth, would you want to add any more important principles, when somebody is trying to go for a natural home,
Yeah.
what they should consider, or, how it should be built?
So the first thing that you would do is you'd want natural lighting for as much as you can get that, and you'd want water, you'd want all these things which are which are found in nature. So orientation or recognition of your climate, your soil types, your topography is very important, because that's how you will then site your house in the first place. The siting, the location and the siting of your house, the orientation of the house, which will get in, as Rita said, north light. North light we get because here in the north we get diffuse lighting, so it's not a glare, so it lights up your house without the glare, because we generally tend to want to shut off the south light, which gets in more heat and glare. So that's why north light was mentioned. But otherwise you just use diffusers, you'd use other kind of lighting if you're not getting your light from the south, from the north, you're getting it from other directions. So main thing is orientation and ventilation, cross flow of air, because that gives you the thermal comfort without the need of air conditioning. So you vent your house with something that we call stack effect, where the hot air goes up through the dormers and through roof vents and higher ventilation at the higher level, and you bring in the cool air automatically to flow in to replace that hot air from the lower levels. So that gives you your natural air conditioning, so these things are taken care of. But now with the modern, see, it's very simplistic, because we get people who ask us all the time, no, but we don't want, and the creepy crawlies are a fact of life when you get in there, and you have clients who say, no, I love to live in the wild, but I don't like snakes. But there are details, our old houses have these details, which I call a snake guard. If you look at the plinth of every structure, old house, it had a little plinth band around it. That plinth band is designed such that the snake cannot actually get over it, cannot crawl, its spine cannot take that crawl. And if that bump is designed correctly, the snakes cannot come and negotiate that to get in through your windows. They get in through your doors if your steps permit it. If their steps are straight 90-degree angles, it's very easy for the snake to come and get in through your doors, so things like that. So there are details that if we actually study and take cross sections of these old houses that were built indigenously, we will rediscover those details and use them in the natural houses, because those were all natural homes. They all lived with all those creepy crawlies. And okay, some people did die of snake bite, but that's happening even now. We're dying of worse things than snake bite today. So I think, so you got to, yeah. And there are a lot of issues, in the sense people ask about, what about maintenance? We want something that can be easily cleaned, Yeah, of course, everything can be cleaned if you clean it on time. Everything can be maintained. And this maintenance is a DIY. It's literally do-it-yourself maintenance for natural homes. Building the home itself, you don't need great specializations, specialist great skills. Anyone can do it. In the past, the whole community got together and built each other's homes. So I think that is the way to go, because then you're sort of self-dependent. You're not dependent on a big on an expert who's going to charge you the earth to build this thing for you, which is actually something that you can do yourself with the right guidance. Of course, we'll go out of business, but that doesn't matter because they'll still need us, they'll still need to consult us. But and once they're trained, it's okay. You have to pass on your knowledge anyway. So, and we've all learned from our ancestors. We have not paid them anything to learn from what they've done. So I think it's a natural system of learning and passing on things. But yes, it's a very easy thing to do. It's a low cost structure, low maintenance. Often you have to maintain it often, but it's not high on cost and high on time and high on skills. That's what I mean. So it's a DIY maintenance. So there are a lot of plus points. I don't see very many negative points in natural homes. I really don't see them. These are the questions that are asked, yes, but they are all problems that can be solved, all issues that can be solved very easily.
Okay, that's wonderful to hear. And how about some basic principles that if you really want a natural home and you don't want to hurt the earth, then you ask your architect or your contractor, what are all the materials that you're going to put in to make this home that I mean basically I just want these this kind of rooms and I want this kind of life. So now you design it. So you tell me, what are the materials and from how far they are, coming, right?
Yeah.
How
So the first
local.
thing I would do, the first thing I would do is I'd use the material that's right there under my feet, which is the earth, because it's the easiest material to build with, frankly speaking. It is the most easily available, and it will go back there when somebody, maybe everybody of the family dies and passes away and the house is abandoned, it'll go back right there to where it was. It will be easily digested and reused by the next party who comes on that plot. So it's totally recyclable, totally renewable, and doesn't cause any damage to the earth. Number one. Number two is, for water harvesting, you will need anyway some kind of a pit. So you're taking out the earth from that pit and you're building your house with it. So you're getting a pit automatically, without having to excavate an extra amount just for this, like how we do swimming pools and stuff. We're again digging the earth and then calling in transportation to take like 25 truckloads of earth out of your site, and then they're looking out for place to dump it. And then you're filling up some potential water hole with earth or whatever wetlands, potential wetlands with earth, and it's creating chaos all over, just disrupting, moving earth from one place to the other and sort of defacing the earth, what I call defacing it completely. So
Right, so that's a very important aspect to explain to the contractor that to use up all the material as far as possible that's coming out from the excavation. And also this tomorrow's topic, what we are is about roof and landscaping for water harvesting or rainwater harvesting. So I think that would be a very good principle right at the start of the plot itself, where you are putting into your design that all this rainwater that's going to flow in my plot and on my home, how am I going to channel it to the lowest part of the property? And that's the place where we're going to make this well or this tank. And so that would be the place to excavate or make your well and use all of that material for your home, right?
Yes, exactly. So that's the way you plan the whole site first, and the process. The process is very important of what you follow, how to build it, because otherwise you'll be just digging and filling and digging and filling and doing things on the earth which are not required, cutting trees which you don't need to cut, which would have been there and still remain there, and things like that. So I think site planning is a very important aspect of natural building first. It's a primary aspect, and the process that contractors should follow. Of course, they don't like to follow those processes because number one, building with earth, they don't have any money in that to buy the material. That's right from there. Then they don't get money from transporting the earth away from or debris away from the site. So there's a huge negative aspects for them. So getting people to do this work is very difficult. The minute you say mud, they don't want to build it for you. So you got to literally get it done yourself with people, of course, trained people. So
and then once you decide to use the stone and the mud, then how do you bind it? Is it only with concrete or some other natural material?
No
And what do you
concrete,
use
no.
for paint?
No, actually, the mud itself, if you look at the old houses, they were all bound with mud itself. That mud, of course, they were using a little bit of lime and surkhi, that is crushed brick, you know. So you either redo that. If that is too tedious, then of course you use, when you're building with mud, you cannot use cement. It doesn't bond at all. So you're using mud mortar with lime in it. That is the best binder. You cannot use cement with mud. It will just crack away. It won't bind at all. It
Right,
won't bond.
Any other binders or paint materials, Tallulah?
Yeah, so basically, I would just like to add what Hyacinth has already shared, that, in Goa and the entire region of Konkan, we have lateritic soil. And the lateritic soil is so great, unlike the rest of India, where you don't have to add anything. It has the right amount of clay, it has the right amount of other, minerals, which you just compress it and it becomes like hard stone, correct? So you don't need any binders. Now, in case you need to add other things, then I think, see, the approach is to use things which any common man can build. It should not become an exclusive method or an exclusive material. So traditionally, lime was added, and if you look at today, lime is a carbon neutral material. What does that mean? It means that we use shell lime. A shell is abundantly available in the sea, and there are two things. We have the largest shellfish. It is as big as my palm. It's called the kubbe. Okay, it's found in the mangrove area. Traditionally, that was used to make the shell lime. Also, Captain Haddock in Tintin comics talks about blistering barnacles. These are the oysters that we find, the kalma. Now, even that is in abundance, when they are harvested and eaten. So both these, when you burn them at high temperatures, they form, they become brittle and you make the powder. But the only problem is when you burn it, you need a large amount of wood. When you burn shells, it releases carbon. When it becomes into a powder after burning, you add water to it. The process of adding water reabsorbs the carbon. And that's why lime is called a carbon neutral material. But today, using shell lime is again very tricky because, you are again using wood to burn the shells. So instead of lime is great, of course, but lateritic soil doesn't need any binders. At the most, you can use, I would say, cow dung. Cow dung is a great binding material, and it's a great finishing material also. Okay, the key is for an eco village, for eco living, you need to look at materials that can be sourced very easily, and then everybody can replicate. So I would say that our lateritic soil is just fantastic, and it is enough. Okay. The second thing is what you said. I like your, what you said, and also what Hyacinth added, that traditionally we didn't require expertise, right? The whole community came together to build it. And I'm doing that now, trying to see whether every project can be opened up for volunteering. So when we have the eco village, when we are ready to build, we should just invite volunteers, because there is cross learning, right? You're giving the opportunity for youngsters, for the community to learn the skills. You'll have training for them so that they learn and they know. And then it becomes knowledge which can be disseminated, and everybody then knows how to build. Today, people are fearful because the knowledge is lost. And it is important. I mean, it's great that Hyacinth for the longest time has been promoting mud building. And there are so many across India. But it needs to be done so much as a natural process that everybody needs to.
Yes, that's wonderful, Tallulah, and about, the burning the wood. So it's a principle in our design that to use wood as a renewable resource. That means all that you have to do is grow more than you consume. So once you go on the land, you start, that's the growing activity first after you've done your design. And you want that land to produce certain trees which can make all of your, products and your doors and your windows. So as long as you are putting in the land and generating more than what you're taking out, then you can afford to do that,
Absolutely. Actually, traditionally, if you look at it, today we have landscape architects, and we are also trying to, grow trees. But I think there also there needs to be a shift. where we also grow wood trees. So in every landscape,
Yes.
we need to adopt permaculture. So you're growing your own food and you're also growing your own wood. Because in 30 years, you can have, wood. And if trees like matti is a great wood. It's a resilient wood and it can be used for everything, right from furniture to your doors and windows, to everything, to your roof. So if you already plan and plant wood trees, then a large part of being sustainable.
Thank you, Tallulah. Yeah, Rita, you're smiling. You want to add something to it. Some ideas are going in your head.
No, I agree with Hyacinth and Tallulah totally. I was considered a freak when I built my house now 25 years ago. And I used a composite of broken laterite and mud for my plinths, did pitching for the slopes without any cement, and anyone can come and see the project. And I did rainwater harvesting, and we use that for gardening and for in the flushes. And what was interesting is, as Tallulah mentioned, I have been using matti wood. I've done my doors and everything, and everyone thought, oh, she's using sasta material for the project. But even now, my doors are fine, my windows, everything is fine. My roof over my head is fine. So I think again, we're talking about changing the mindset. And what would be interesting is that I want to set up this school of architecture, which is called School of Meaningful Architecture. So I think Tallulah's idea is, if we have the students working on the project hands-on, we'll have a better world. Thank you.
Yes, yes. Thank you. That's so right. And this before, yeah. So now we'll go on to this committee. So the need for a committee, it comes from these wonderful dreams and these wonderful ideas that we have. And like Tallulah mentioned that people uh, are not getting the options, so we should give them the options of natural homes. Of course, we should do that. But also, I have been making this point, through the summit, that now it's almost become a necessity. It's become, a compulsion, because if people can just open their eyes and see that the current system doesn't have more than 25 years, where something non-renewable is going to dry up, whether it's crude oil or it's coal and all of that, they have to understand that they have to come out of that right now. Because if people themselves are not going to contribute to what we are calling new earth, then and they're just going to wait because of certain things, then who is going to do the work, right? So in a previous webinar, we had a panelist who was making the current concrete jungles green zones. And of course, I said yes, that's important. And I'm not saying that people should just leave all those concrete jungles and come here, because people have invested. They are paying bank loans on the they've taken loans and are paying interest on that house, so they are locked into that place for 5 years or 10 years, and even after the loan is paid off, they will want to live the useful life of that building, right? So maybe that building is going into redevelopment after 10 years, or a newer project may go after 20 years or 30 years. So because the resource is there, well, it can be used, its useful life, and after that they can come. But still, they need to understand that the life and the choices and what you use on a daily basis there, it is still costing the earth every day. So well, so even if you say that you can't come out of the place and you'll come out after 10 years, when that time happens, we need to seed this idea in them right now, that your first thought and first idea should be to come out of a concrete jungle and come into a natural home, because this is about your future of your children, the health of your children, the environment of your children. And if you're not going to teach them, then who is going to teach them to do the right decision at the right time when you get the right opportunity? So, so that is, what we have been talking about. That even people in the city need to understand this. That this is what the earth is going through right now. Um, so now that we want to do all of this, yeah, we want to help not only people but also architects and also government officials who are in charge of policy right now, taking care of things. And there are so many commercial interests. For example, even builders, of course, they've made a company, they want to make money and all of that. But how do we, help them also understand and do green projects, because they also have to contribute to this. And of course there will be money every time you do work, there will be money, so how about doing some good work that is good for the earth and good for health? um, so that's why we were thinking of these committees, because it will take a long time for government to change policy and all of that. So why not those people who are already believing in this come together as an informal group first, maybe for 3 6 months, work out things, and then formalize it, whether it's a registered society or whatever. But those innovators, those green architects, uh, they should come together and start building these new models and the plan of how they should go forward. So my first question is, uh, who are the people who should come into these committees? Now, so that's why I've proposed that all of you who are pioneers, definitely should be in the Natural Homes and Architecture Committee of Goa. So if we want to talk about who are, because I know your work for so many years, and so what should be the composition of this committee? Say we want the committee to get to 25, 30 people who take care of different aspects. So of course, first the given point is that people who have had the most experience in implementing natural homes, they should be there in the committee. So that is known. Now, besides that, what are the other kinds of people who should come in this committee? And then next we will talk about what is the work for this committee in the transformation of homes and architecture. So, Hyacinth, what would you like to say if there's one point or one kind of person who you want in this committee?
Yeah, I think it's a committee that should be made up of a variety of people. Number one, I think permaculturists, because they know about the overall food systems, which are very essential for a self-sufficient community. How to allocate the right space, land resources for the right kind of thing. Architects are one, but we also need planners, general planners. We need geographers and people who understand soil, so soil experts. The earth, the tectonics, and the topography of the land. We need people who know horticulture. So permaculturists would sort of wrap up all those aspects. But yeah, we need people who know how to audit natural buildings actually. Like really whether we are keeping to our dreams of low carbon footprint and all that. So there has to be some kind of calculational aspect to all this. And yeah, the whole list of people we can think of bit by bit, but I think these are essential people on the panel for now.
Yes, so yes, thank you. Yes, thank you, Hyacinth. I've been taking notes, so I just listed those down.
Okay.
So, Rita, would you like to add some more to the list?
I think
Ideal people who you would like to work with, to make this happen.
one is young blood.
Okay, yes, of course.
Of course, young blood for sure.
And linking up all the colleges and the architecture students so that they can get, their practicals done on homes that are actually to be built for people, right?
Yes.
Yes. And people who are sensitive to material. I think that is very important because we are using materials. This cannot be a learning ground. It's not a trial and error place. There have to be people who have used materials who can say, okay, no, Rita, I don't think this is a good idea. first the orientation, as Hyacinth was saying, very important. And when you're talking about the location, we have the southwest areas, which is getting the onslaught of the monsoons. So we have to have our roofs, pitched lower down so doesn't wear off. If we are using mud architecture for the walls, there are lots of ways that can be built. But I think you need a team of like-minded people. That's the main thing, because if we have infighting, we're going to go backwards again, and then people will just leave. So it has to have a team of like-minded people who want to make this dream a reality. I
Yes,
think.
thank you, Rita. Tallulah, who else do you think should be in this community to help this work go
I
forward?
have a list.
Sorry?
And I agree with Hyacinth and Rita that we need to have as much diversity. Okay. So in my list, I would like to add like an ecologist, a wildlife biologist, somebody who is from the smart city vehicle, somebody who has worked with disaster, because being a coastal city, we are going to be climate refugees real soon. And we need somebody who can look, 30 years from now, 50 years from now, and also look at the characteristic of an eco-village. An eco-village can be built with mud on higher ground, but an eco-village can also build on water. And does it have that adaptability, right? So we need to look at somebody from disaster management, somebody from the climate change, department. I would say it needs to have some amount of people from governance, because it is very important to look at policy change where mud houses, building with natural materials, are incentivized. That means today, if you're a builder or if you're a developer or an individual who wants to build mud, then maybe you can do it because, you will be given, asked to pay less in terms of your infrastructure tax if you're building with mud or if you're building with natural materials. So something, where it is incentivized in terms of taxation, right? And of course, a whole host of the people who have the expertise on growing food as a permaculturist on land, growing food on water. Because I'm looking at it purely from the perspective of climate change and, coastal states, the population living in coastal cities becoming climate refugees. And of course, technical experts, engineers, who can be a part of this new, generation of builders, technologists, who know the knowledge so well that the dissemination of the knowledge is important. Because today a lot of people ask, like I always challenge when people say, okay, is this strong? Is mud strong? Should we test it? Should we check, its bearing strength? Should we check its compressive strength? And I say that look at traditional community. They did not test anything, but they had a feel for the material, and that was important. But today, when you're talking about promoting the sensibilities and the need of an eco-village, you will have people who are well read who will ask you these questions. And you need to have certain figures where you say that, okay, if you're using basalt stone, it is 7 times the strength of concrete. If you're using lateritic mud, it is 5 times the strength of concrete. So you need to have these figures when it comes from testing done. So you need people who are in technology, who have that expertise to be able to give that input.
Material specialist is very, very important.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes. Thank you, Tallulah. Now, even as you were, speaking, I also kind of put down a couple of things. Is that I have heard of people going around Goa and some have come from out of state and bamboo expert. You see, so maybe these key building materials One is something that has not been used so much, but it has been used before, which is the hemp plant, which it makes, you can make bricks of hemp also. So maybe we need to have, these people like at least one bamboo expert, one hemp expert, one coconut expert, because, for our roofing and so many things in the house that can be made of wood.
Basically, that is an expert in plant fibers.
Okay.
This would be very important.
Yeah, because any besides these three, any other very exceptional wood, of course, teak is there for building materials, but any other kind of wood that has got, multiple, like coconut, you can make 120 different products.
Yes.
Bamboo also, you can make about 80 products, and hemp, you can make 60 products. And all of them go not only into your home construction, they go into objects within utility objects within your house. And so any other tree that's so amazing like these three trees?
I think Mati is also considered the tree of water. It's a state tree, and it is again versatile. One of the most important things is its ability to nourish the soil. So I think wood trees are important because they also are connected to water security, So having wood trees and somebody who's an expert on, wood or wood trees would be critical.
Okay, thank you. And also the workforce to build all of this. So maybe we kind of talk to some people who are large contractors, labor contractors who are in the construction, and start kind of educating them on the natural building aspects to get involved in our project. So maybe we have some person from there also, because they will also bring up their,
Daryl, the important thing is, see, today, why are we, dependent on exclusive, I call them exclusive professionals. Why would anybody need to hire an architect today? Because you've lost traditional knowledge. And I think it is important for everybody to have basic knowledge of how to build healthcare, and how to live and how to build their shelter. So I think the key is, yes, contractors will be there, but can we have a team of builders, whether it is young students, whether it is laborers, skilled craftsmen. Today there is a problem of finding skilled labor, correct?
Yes.
So we eliminate, one is to eliminate the contractor as a first step. It's not to say that, we don't need contractors. I would say the first is to engage workers. Workers could be, skilled workers and also young students, lay people, to be able to make that first connection with building and mud and acquainting with the knowledge. And then, of course, you'll have contractors coming in because, see, once it grows as a very important craft, to build with mud grows as an important craft, you'll find, contractors, because today, when you talk to contractors, you'll train the workers, you'll train the contractor, but with the next mud house that you build, he will have an exclusive price to build the mud house because it is exclusive, So we have to make it so abundantly, the knowledge so abundantly available, and everybody learning at a very fast pace, So every project should be opened up for volunteering, inviting the community to help with building. And you can have appoint a project manager who's an expert like a contractor. So you can appoint a project manager so that skills are learned and everybody learns to, to do build for self, build for others. And traditionally, if you look at forest communities or even other communities, there was no one specialized person. The whole community, the entire village came together to build a house, and it was done in rotation. So we should also do the same thing for the eco village.
Yes, wonderful idea. And another point that I just thought of was, first initially I just put down this word called heads of, citizens committees. That means how to get to the larger public. But then I thought, just instead of heads of citizens committee, maybe we need to do a state-wise, in every state, a state-wise educational campaign of this is what the old commercial structures are doing to your health, to the ecology, to the planet, and this is why you need to transition to this kind of holistic living. right? And basically sell the concept on all of the points that we spoke today for health, for using, for reducing carbon footprint, for making it, more beautiful. And that's, yeah, and a key point in that is if we do one good project, even of a cluster of houses, or if you've already done one, then perhaps that is the showcase in our campaign, to tell the general public that you can have beautiful homes, you can have comfortable homes with a lot of, your things that you're used to. So yeah, that would come in the category, in the list of what can this committee do, right? We could do this education campaign, and maybe another one which was, every state goes big on a certain in a certain direction when you do a campaign for the state, right? So at one time in 2016, I had made this proposal to Goa Tourism Development Corporation, making Goa the wellness destination, tourist wellness destination. So tourists could come here for wellness. So maybe if we want to, have more natural homes in Goa, what should we call it? Campaign for Green Goa or campaign for heritage homes in Goa? Any idea of how we do it at the state level to promote? Because this is what is happening. What I've noticed is now, because there's you can't breathe the air in Delhi and it's getting too congested in Bombay and Pune. People have a right to a better life. So they're all coming here and they're just buying into the same kind of structures that they were used to. So they're buying into flats in 4-5 story buildings, right? So how do we make a, like a state, and every state may have its own kind of, campaign. But would this help in, putting out some kind of campaign which is kind of branding Goa as a heritage place, or any ideas on that?
I guess we need to give that a thought. We cannot, yeah.
And but definitely this the education campaign would be good, right?
Yes,
Making people aware, or making a movie on it.
awareness.
Yeah,
Yes, yes.
let's make a movie about it, and show, what's, or let us just take it for our own state, that this is what our state was, and this is what is happening, and please don't make it another city that has, getting destroyed. And maybe if we make it into a good movie, it may have some appeal.
Yeah, I think there are very interesting ways in which, and not very difficult ways in which to do this. And I can distinctly see two ways. One is, of course, from the, like you said, from the aspect of tourism. If every tourist and every person who is migrating to Goa, had to know that from the perspective of where they're coming from, what they are running away from, or what they're giving up, like let's say pollution in my city, so I'm migrating to Goa, which offers me cleaner air, so if we can do a state level campaign which talks about this, healthy living, natural living, and therefore promotion of a eco village, living in an eco village. You're migrating from a mega metro city where there are all these problems, and you're moving to a better life, you're making a better choice for better health. So I think that promotion is good. And I'm talking it from the perspective of, many years ago, I got invited to go to Galapagos Islands. And it is no different from Goa, And I felt, but the promotions were so amazing. Everywhere, right from the time you landed from the airport, you saw these fantastic advertisements of ecology, the island ecosystem. Goa offers the same thing. But instead of seeing a picture of, Mole or a pristine beach, you see a casino slapped in your face. So I think that, imagine every person that lands at the airport or the train station had to see these fantastic images of life in a village, life in a hinterland, life in a very natural environment. I mean, everybody would inspire. What is going wrong is hoardings of buildings by developers saying that, this is beach view, field view, and they're still giving you a box, which is a concrete box. So that has to change. The second thing I like what you said, Daryl, is to bring eco building into the psyche of young students? What if we had a campaign that would run across all schools in Goa, right? Where we do workshops on mud building. Every month, we have a community. Hyacinth is there, Rita is there. There are so many young students. So if I can build an army, we choose students or professionals in every village, in every ward, that can conduct a mud workshop in a school. Why can't we do that? And if that knowledge is disseminated as a campaign, that we want to make Goa an eco village, we want to bring this change, I think it will be very, very powerful. I think that is another thing we can do.
Yes, that sounds really wonderful. Yes. Rita, you wanted to add to that?
No, I agree with Tallulah totally. Teach them young and
Yeah,
watch them grow.
so yes, that's wonderful. And now I'll just take, there are questions from our audience. First is from Ashish Mukherjee. In certain cases, people have told me the hurdle they face is cost of eco-friendly homes, because some builders are treating it as a fad for the rich and building these homes very costly. Also, no one knows where to find architects and builders who can build such natural homes reliably. Real estate builders in villages too do not seem to have these skills nowadays. What can be a way for people to get started if they want a natural home in these circumstances? So first answer to you, Ashish, is please show this video to them, the recording, and say the first thing you need to do is make a natural homes and architecture committee in your state, right? And then the next point is, yes, what Tallulah mentioned, natural home builders. Within this community, make a club. So, and publicize that in your state, that yes, there is a go-to place, there's a club, or just go to the natural, homes and architecture committee of the state, and you will find the people. So I'll come to that, and just on that itself, I will talk about next steps. And but yes, before that, any more replies from our panelists?
I think
Yeah. So basically, there are websites, on the web. If you Google, there are a lot of places where you can find natural builders and help with. There are lots of groups that where we exchange information ourselves even amongst natural builders. There are questions asked. People are doing things and many experiments. And then if you get onto that, you get a lot of insights and exposure and answers to your queries. And
I sent any name of any website or a group on Facebook or something for this?
I'm very bad with names. I'm on about 5 or 6 of these groups, but I can't get the name. I'll list them down and send them to you, and you can put it up maybe for the when you post this up. For sure, but
there are many organizations across India. There is Thanal, of course, based down south in Kerala. It's called Thanal, handmade. There is Hunar Shala. There is Grama Vidya, which is based in Bangalore. Besides this, there are a lot of communities on Facebook. Yeah, there is COP building, there is earth building, natural building. And if you just join these, people will guide you. One of the important things is to say that, look here, I have a plot and I'm interested in eco building. Can we, and I invite volunteers to come and help me. I invite architects, I invite engineers, whoever is interested to come and build for me. And you will have a lot of takers. Today, the community is open. They want to, because see, you cannot expect one architect to build 1 million homes, right, in mud. And it is important to disseminate that knowledge. And if we can share, we are more than happy, to connect everybody into the community so that the knowledge and the initiative to spread this knowledge and the importance of building natural, is done.
I agree. Hunar Shala is very good. I've done a lot of work with them. And we did a tourist project for them in Himachal. I think it's very interesting. There are a lot of people I think
There's also this Varun Thotam and then Tunnel and a whole lot of people now that Tallulah has mentioned the names. I recall the names. Yeah.
Yes. So we have another question, and that's from Rahul Goswami to Rita, Hyacinth, and Tallulah. In general, what I've seen in India and elsewhere is that a small cluster of ecologically sensitive homes, rather than an individual dwelling, is better able to manage its combined water and energy needs. What arguments can you suggest to retrofit parts of our village settlement zones so that this approach becomes preferred?
I can take that. There are lots of methods, and everything has to be applied to the local, to the local place. You need to look at traditional systems that have existed. All across India, we have a wealth of information about step wells. Today, where is that knowledge? Today, a tap has been introduced to every home and people have lost, their connection to their water bodies. And we are polluting our water bodies because we have lost that connection. So revival of these systems is critical. And in every city, like in Panjim city, we have 3 springs. We have a numerous, community wells. In every village, it makes sense that every plot that you find in any terrain, even on a hilly slope, you can dig your own well and have fresh water. So there are numerous examples that have existed, but there needs to be a revival of this, and everything is pertinent to that local area. If you're looking at, sustaining a larger group or a colony or even a village, and every village has had a reservoir. We have a community classroom initiative where every day the children are taken to the nearby lakes. Do you know that in Panjim city, close to Panjim city in Santa Cruz, there is a Bonneval lake. It is so pristine, it's like going to the forest. At Kadamba Plateau, there is this Toyar lake or the Chimbel lake. So you'll find these, in a given area, in a certain radius. Traditionally, there were all these water systems which we have lost the knowledge, but they still exist. They require management, but we have lost, the wherewithal to manage these because today we have taps in our home. So for everything, there is a solution. For everything, there is a need to you talked about retrofitting. Let me say, let us take a case where I'm living in a modern home. Okay, the simplest thing you can do is your waste water and your waste. There are 2 pipes. One is a soil pipe which takes the human feces, and there is another pipe which takes your wastewater. Why are we putting the wastewater in a soak pit? You can take all that wastewater to a food garden. You can grow your own food because every day we have a bath. Every day we are washing vessels. All that, every drop of that water can be used to grow food. It can be grown in pots. It can be grown in larger receptacles. It can be grown in your little patch of garden. It can be grown on your terrace. So retrofitting is something that can be easily done. I think as soon as you have a change in mindset, there are so many things you can do to achieve a zero waste lifestyle, even in a modern home.
Thank you, Tallulah. Now we will move to the final step, which is how do we start this natural homes and architecture committee, let's say for Goa, and the same thing applies to other places. Of course, it can be an informal group. So what I had done is we just got together some people on Telegram for the Integrative Natural Medicine Committee of Goa. So we are there right now, and we share a few things and exchange, and we talk about what are the next steps. So shall we do that for Goa as well? And
Yes, I do.
yeah, everybody's fine with Telegram?
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah,
it's a good idea to start with that first.
Yeah, so I will put all of you in that group, and then let it be
And we
that
can invite people whom we think can add to the group
yes.
too.
So that's the
whom
key
we know.
point, that we invite people who we know have done exceptional, amazing work and are with what we have discussed today. And then as they get in the group, we can let them also know that they can get more people into the group. and that's how it can grow. And there's some things that we have already put down today, the kind of projects we want to, start taking up, the healthy living, natural homes, Goa campaign, and heritage homes, and the ads. Yeah, and I'm sure much more, you know, activities can be taken up. And yeah, it would be my part to, complete this video and put it up on, the YouTube channel so I can share it in the group. So whoever's come over there, gets the benefit of this entire discussion, and also the view that I gave with my presentation, you see, of what really is the calling right now to every state, every city across the globe, so that people, understand the urgency. Um, and uh, yes, any more ideas of okay, what is the yeah the kind of work that this committee should take up besides what we have put down? Any other urgencies?
Yeah, I think the community should start taking, first of all, identifying people across various sectors who can who can contribute in whatever way, whether it's construction or structures or advice or expertise or whatever kind of expertise towards building these homes. Second thing we should do is work towards getting the government to accept and introduce bylaws for building with this. Yes, accept and introduce norms for building, not bylaws but norms for building with these alternate materials, because it's still now it's not accepted in the mainstream, so in order to be able to build and extensively build, we need that to be accepted by the TCP and by authorities as materials that you can that can withstand the test of time. And so we need engineers who will check the strength of the materials and say that yes, it passes these norms of ISI standards, so and so, so and so. So these kind of things have to happen. Like in some countries they do have it there already, so we can always take up from them, find out how they got that done. To this, I think these are some of the things. There are so many things this company can do.
Right. So I've noted that down. And yeah, this is the time for our audience. If you want to put in any more questions, I've already picked up the 4 questions and our panelists have answered them. So if you want any tips for a natural home and all, please ask now. And, then we can wind up. So
Why
just
can't we approach the government and ask them to give us land to try this?
oh yes, so
Yeah, good idea.
that's a wonderful thing. Yes,
I
and
think
if
that's one of the things we should put in priority.
yeah, so for a natural, home building project, a futuristic, we'll put in all the wordings, of course, in that proposal, and put that forward to the government because they got so much of land, and yeah, also about the comunidades.
Yeah, I think also to reach out to institutions like today, yesterday and today we were camping in Koregaon, which is in Perne. And there is a Santu Xavier Vidyalaya. So the priest of the parish, invited us. And what we were doing is he said that, the children there don't have a play area. Can you help us build one? So we said, yeah, we can build out of waste. For the couple of days we were there with a few of the community classroom children, and we told them the list of waste materials that we needed, and we put it together. We put a rope bridge, we had tires, we had an old canoe, for the children. So we can even approach institutions and other communities like this, organizations like this, because they have a need for they have land or they have space, and they're looking at facilities, to provide to their community or to their stakeholders or to their students, whoever there is. And if we can reach out to them saying that there are ways in which this can be done naturally, using waste, using natural materials, I think there's an opportunity to try things.
Yes, definitely. I've noted that. And I'm just going to read out one more. Is it a comment or a question from Harshad Kothari? The idea to invite architects, engineers, young students as volunteers is brilliant. When economics and profits get into the equation, we have seen what happens. Like any industry, eco-village is something that needs to be done based on Vasudeva Kutumbakam. The whole earth is one family, and we are going to support and live in harmony with not only other humans and their pets, but every species and Mother Earth. So yes, Harshad, very well said. Uh, and in building these eco villages, or even transforming our existing village to be more, futuristic in this low carbon footprint, we definitely have to take into account this energy and philosophy.
I
Yes.
think I think changing the idea of calling it an eco village, you have to do a little bit of um, a different thing about the name.
Right, right. Yeah, we are open to any kind of names if you can start suggesting right now.
Because we have to get even companies CSR involved in it. Every
Right.
company has CSR.
Yes.
So if we can make a dream project and approach your comunidad or approach the government and tell them we will do it in collaboration with both, and give the companies attention. You're sponsoring with CSR, you do the community space, somebody does the school, somebody does the housing. So I'm sure companies will come on board. Everybody's got
Sure.
a name, but
Right, right.
goodwill, everybody wants goodwill. I think
Yes, yes, definitely. That's a good idea. And there is one more comment or question. I'll just get to it from Ashish. Chat. Yes, and Ashish says that he is working on a proof of concept using bottom ash of incinerated solid waste along with cow dung and pine needles to make bricks and create some small structures with that. Would love to seek feedback from experts like you further down the road. We're done with the questions. So we end with a big thank you to our panelists, and thanks to the audience as well for hanging in there. And we look forward to seeing you again tomorrow at the same time on the same link for our day 22 topic, which is roof and landscaping for water harvesting, rainwater harvesting. Okay, so all of you who want to come tomorrow and understand how you can conserve water and keep it within your property so that it can charge your groundwater, and also principles on not wasting water. That's what we are going to talk about. Okay, so thank you once again, Tallulah, Hyacinth, Rita,
Thank you.
and
right.
we will be in touch on the committee,
Yes.
right? Yeah.